Hi everyone, welcome you once again to Micro Learning. This is Shailaja with Class 11, Chapter 1 Introduction to Macroeconomics. So, previously we have seen about what is an economy, what are the other contributions done by the economy, then why do we study economics, what is scarcity, what is resources, what are the other types of resources, what are the choices that we make, what is the problem really that we are facing and because of scarcity, how are humans wants, and how we use these resources for alternative purpose. So what is economics we have seen. So economics has been classified into two. One is supposed to be micro, the other is supposed to be macro. So all of us know micro means small and macro means large. Now that's why in this picture we have given a single tree as micro, and a large number of trees put together, we call it as macroeconomics. Now what is the difference, basic difference between micro and macro? Micro studies about an individual. Okay, it studies about an individual. Macro studies about the economy as a whole. So it's dealing only with, so for example, micro is only a study about me, but macro is study about the entire universe. Now in microeconomics, what are the tools used? We use demand and supply. Macroeconomics also studies about demand and supply, but it takes into consideration the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Now, what is the objective of microeconomics? The objective is nothing but how we are going to fix the price according to the factors of production. So, who is supplying the factors of production? It is a household who is supplying the factors of production. So, according to the factor of production, the price is being fixed. Now, how about macroeconomics? It's about determining about the income or the employment of the economy. Now, macroeconomics has another name which we called it as price theory. Here we call it as income and employment theory. Now, microeconomics is a study about individual income, individual output, everything about an individual. But macroeconomics studies about the entire economy. For example, it studies about the national income. It studies about the inflation. It studies about the bank rate. Okay, all this we can classify under macroeconomics. It involves limited degree of aggregation, and here it needs a highest degree of aggregation. So this is commonly asked question, what is the difference between micro and macroeconomics? Now next we are going to see what is positive and normative science. When we say it is positive, what ought to be, what it should be, what ought to be, O-U-G-H-T, what ought to be. For example, what is the culture? Okay, what is the political scenario? If you are going to study about it, it is positive. Now, when we speak about normative, what ought to be, what it should be, it can be the other way around. Like that, we can study about normative science. For example, there is an inflation. There is inflation in a country. Why this inflation has happened or taken place? What is going to be the future consequences? What is the good about inflation? What about bad about inflation? So when you analyze on it, we call it as normative science. Okay. Now what is the difference between positive and normative science? Here positive science tells you it deals with the things as they are. Okay, but here it is what it should be, like what ought to be, or you could as they should be. It can be this way, or it would have taken the other way around. Okay, you make an analyzation of it. Here it can be verified without actual data. Here it cannot be verified because it is on generalization. Here it is purely on neutral between ends. Here it is suggestive and optimism in nature. Now, what is the purpose of studying positive economics? Because its aim is supposed to be bringing out economic ideas, bringing out the determination of it, okay, analyzing it into a deeper level. Now, what is the central problem of an economy? Okay, there are certain problems in an economy. What it is, what has to be produced, how it has to be produced, for whom it has to be produced. So, whom are we going to produce it? To whom are we going to distribute it? This has to be analyzed here. Because, for example, if you are manufacturing chocolate, whom are you going to produce the chocolate for? Who is going to be your consumer? What are the factors of production that we are going to use? Which are the resources to be used? Which society of people are going to use your commodity? So, there should be a proper planning in the economy. If there is going to be proper planning, then execution and production would take place simultaneously. So, production, distribution and disposition of goods and services are based on the economic activities of life. In course of these activities, every society has to face scarcity of resources. So, already we have learnt about scarcity. We know as the resources are being utilized to the greatest extent, there is a shortfall of resources. So, every society has to decide how to allocate the scarce resources. So, this is supposed to be the central problem, because every economy has to utilize the resource to the greatest extent so that the resources won't be wasted. So, I hope you would have understood. Those who are watching the channel for the first time, please subscribe. Click on to the bell button for further notifications. Thank you very much.